Hey, welcome back to another video. My name is Nicu, and into today's tutorial I'm gonna show you how to create this nice oval effect using React and Curtains.js. What we're gonna do is to install Curtains.js. After that we will need to do a couple of things for our canvas. So how Curtains.js works is we give a set of images or a set of anything else, and in the end it renders everything in a canvas. So we're gonna create here a new folder called canvas, and inside of it we'll have an index.js and style.css. Let's make it a React function, and inside of it it only needs to have a div and with a class name, for example canvas, and this will be used to render the canvas. Also for the future work, we'll need to create a reference to our element called container, and here we'll have const container, which is use ref, and we're gonna import the use ref from the React. Let's rename this to canvas. Also we need to do some CSS for the canvas. So the canvas is gonna be positioned to the full screen of the window. So the best way is to make it fixed and then to stretch it to every corner of the window. So top 0, left 0, and then we just give it a width of 100 viewports width and a height of 100 viewports height. Also a pointer event none to disable all the interactions. Great. We'll need to do some of the changes to the image as well. Now we have the image render as the URL background image. To the element we need to create an image instead. Curtains.js requires so our elements should have a data argument, so it needs to be a data sampler of plain texture. This is required so that the Curtains.js will know what element it needs to get information and then render with the help of WebGL into a canvas. Need a reference, plain L, and plain L is a use ref. Then we import the use ref from React. We will need to do some changes to the style as well. So instead of the image, we'll have image, and we will leave it for now, but we will need to display on the actual DOM image, since the package does the thing. We will need to create our Redux store, hence we will do all of our changes with a small Redux store. So Redux store is so let's import the React from React. Let's import the curtains from the library itself, Curtains.js, and for the initial state object with the curtains, which is a new curtains, and it's gonna have a pixel ratio of math mean from 1.5 to window.device pixels. This is a default, and then it will have the a null container and a scroll effect. The null container is the canvas, the element canvas, and the scroll effect, the damping, we scroll. So let's say const curtains context is React create context initial state. Then we'll have the provider here, curtains context, and for the curtains provider, we will get is a function, an arrow function that will return the provider with some value, and will wrap its children, and we get the children from props, children. And for the actual value of the provider, we'll use the React use reducer from the new added hooks. So use reducer, let's import it, and it's an callback function, and we will pass the initial state. We will get the state and the dispatch function. Dispatch function from the use reducer, and then we will pass the values to the provider, so state and the dispatch. And inside of our reducer, we'll do a couple of things. We will set the container, and we will set the scroll effect. So we'll do two actions. So we have a switch, yeah. Here the callback gives the state, the current state, and the action we do. So in a switch, we would have for the default, let's just throw new error, and we'll get here the action dot type. Action, and for the case where we want to set the curtains container, we will return the state and the container, which is action.payload load. For let's and for the case where we have the set, we want to update the scroll effect, we will return as well the state and the scroll effect, which is again the action.payload. And this is basically it for the our mini reducer, or in this case it's a morph between a context and a reducer. And let's export the provider and the context, curtains context, yeah. And now in our curtain slider, we need to wrap our DOM to the provider, so curtains provider, and instead of the fragment, as well as to import our newly added component. So here we'll have the canvas. Let's see if it's exported. It's exported. Canvas. It doesn't want to auto import. Okay, we got it. The canvas. And for this function is all set. Now we need to as I said, to do a couple of things. For the canvas, we need to set the container and then to update the scroll effect when the user scrolls. So for this, we will get the container. We will access the context, so const state dispatch equals to use context, and let's import it, and curtains context, and we'll need to use the layout effects. Hence it will be called on the when the actual component is mounted into the DOM. So use layout effect. Great. And we will need to pass the couple of things to where is our container? There is our container. We'll need to pass a couple of things to the array of the use layout effect, so that we would have the access inside of it. So container, the state from, and the dispatch from our context. Great. So side of our layout effect, we get the curtains from the state, and then we check if there is already if we have the container, if it's rendered, current, and we didn't set it up in the state, so curtains.container, and we will do our action here. We will dispatch an action to our reducer, so type of set curtains container, and the payload will pass the curtains.container, so the current reference. We have, as we have in our initial state, the curtain is a curtains object. So here we have to set the container to our canvas. So curtains dot set container from the inside of the library, container dot current. So we assign the element, and then we will listen to a couple of functions from the library, so curtains, and one on context lost its function. So if something happens, we try to restore context. On the canvas renders, let's say so, we have new scroll effect, and this is gonna be the we will lerp from a value to another, since we need to have a smooth transition. So first of all, I will need to set to create another reference. Hence we will need to store the previous value of the scroll effect. So the curtains also has the lerp function, and we will lerp from what we have now, scroll effect, scroll effect, to 0 with a value of 0.075. This will when we will stop the scrolling, we will stop scrolling, the elements will stop moving smoothly, so it will go to 0. And we set the ref, we update the value to a new scroll effect, as well as we dispatch any action to the Redux. So we want to set the scroll effect, and the payload would be the new scroll effect. And now the curtains also has the scroll callback. So on scroll, again it's scroll, and this callback we will use to update the scroll effect when the canvas is scrolled by the user. So we would need to get the delta. What is the delta? Is we'll get the curtains dot get scroll. So we got the delta, and then we set the delta to the minus delta y, hence we need the opposite values. And again we will new scroll effect, we will lerp the values. So from the sum ref dot current dot scroll effect, and we will to delta y and times minus 1.5, hence we minus another arbitrary number, hence we maybe need to make it more catchy, and with a step of 0.5. And we will need to update the scroll effect. What's happening here? We need to add a closing of the function. We'll need to update, and then we will need to dispatch the value of this set scroll with the new scroll effect. So there is we don't need this. Yeah, and there is a small thing we need to do here, is to clamp the value of the delta, hence it can be really big and really small depending on the way you scroll. So let's say if the delta.y is bigger than 60, we need to clamp it to 60. Else if delta.y is smaller than minus 60, we need to set it to minus 60. And we need to again remove the curtain when the component unmounts. So this pose, it's actually killing the curtains. Let's see here, it's not defined. Okay, so canvas, let's import the use layout effect. Okay, so we kind of got some things around. What we need to do is to hide the images from the DOM. So we'll display none, hence the library will insert them in the canvas. Yeah, so we will hide the images, and then the canvas will render. Yeah, we forgot to import the style. Let's refresh. Yeah, so nothing will show, hence we will need to work now with the plane itself. So yeah, for the canvas is this. We are having we're setting the curtains to we're setting the container to the curtains, and then we're listening to some of its callbacks, and on render we update this scroll effect, and on scroll as well we update the scroll effect, and we clamp the value of the scroll so it won't go higher than expected. Now for the index, here as well we will need to access the state from the context. Use context, so is contains context, and we will get the scroll effect from the state. We will need again a reference to keep the scroll effect, and then on the use effect port, and this use effect will be responsible to update the some ref scroll effect values when the scroll effect from the state will be updated. So we'll listen to scroll effect and we'll update the current.scroll effect with scroll effect, and then we will need to use the use layout effect. Let's import, and this container will listen to the state container and state curtains, and we will in the use layout effect we will check for we'll get the curtains from the state curtains, and we will check if there is, if we have a container set. That means that the DOM is loaded, this one, the canvas actually. So if we have this, then we'll create a new plane, and the plane is from the Curtains.js. So a new plane. Let's import the plane. Doesn't want, so import plane from Curtains.js, and the plane will receive few parameters. One is the curtains, so is the canvas. Another one is the element, so is in our case this element, DOM element, so is plain element, not current. And another one is the plain parameters, plain params. So we'll need to create the plain, and in return we will plain, not remove, and we will need to create the plain parameters, plain params, and the the Curtains.js, as I said, it uses WebGL. So in WebGL, plain to be rendered will be needed to have the vertex shader and the fragment shader for the graphics. So we will need to pass the vertex shader. For now I'll leave it like this. Then a fragment shader, and we will need to divide our plane into segments. So width segments 40 and height segments is 40, and then we will need to pass two values or two parameters to our shaders, and in Curtains it requires to be passed as uniform, so uniforms, and inside of it we will name our parameter, and this is the name we will access it in our shader. So direction, and it will be the type, it will be a float, so it is just is a float element, a value, float type, yeah. And for the value we'll set it to 0, since we don't update or we don't scroll initially. And we will also need the time, and the time will be a uTime, and for the type it will be a float again, and for the value it's gonna be 0. So let's save, and we will need to pass the shaders, and I'm not expert into shaders, so I didn't create them. I just copied them from the documentation and then edited them to my need. What this does is it will update the points of, or the coordinates of the plane according on a sign value, according to on a sign path, according to the way the user, or the direction the user scrolls. And for the fragment shader, we would access the time from the rect component, and then we will assign these cosine values to the x and y position of the textures. Then we will need to pass the fragment and the vertex shader, import vas from shaders, and now we should let's first see what we got in, if we have some errors or we has already been declared. So yeah, so we have here a small typo. This, let's call it custom plane and custom plane, and all of the content rendered according to the position it got initially. For this we will use the on render, render function of the plane, and on render it's called every time a plane needs to update it. So if we will console log here updates, we will see that the here update it's called always. So this is the best part to update these two values that are passed to the shaders. And plane dot uniforms, and we have these two uniforms, and for the wobble effect we will use the time, and we'll set the value to ++. So we increment the time by 1 each render. Now, yeah, we've got this nice wobble effect, or a moving effect on the image. Our image is not static anymore, and we can like play with it. So in our shaders, for example, let's say let's come and, I don't know, change this value .56. Yeah, you see, it's completely different. And the sweet spot for me is this. Yeah. And another thing we are left to do is to update the direction value. So plane.uniforms.direction, and for value we will set the value for the scroll effect from our ref. So this. Yeah. And let's see what's happening here. For some reason, yeah. So as you see, it's working, but this value is quite high. So let's console log it, and let's well, it's it's not high actually, but it's high for the effect. So if we scroll, we have here increase in the value close to 60. What we can do is to update or to decrease this value when we set it in the Redux here, or I don't know, I found it easier to set it here in case, I don't know, you will need it in other places. So let's say that we decrease this value by 1000. What happens? So there is a slight change, but there is not much. So let's go with maybe 700. Yeah, there is more improvement, but I want it to be to have a higher effect. So maybe 500. Yeah, that's how I like it. Nice. So yeah, in the end we've got these great effects to the images with a smooth transition between values. You can improve it as you want. There is maybe a next video where we will add the smooth scrolling to this page, through a custom made scroll or through any other package. But yeah, in case you have any questions, drop it like below in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it on social media. See you to the next one. Peace.